Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are very excited to have you on to share with us on this webinar. We are talking today about two Toronto moms investing in real estate, and I am Suzanne Lewis. I am a Toronto-based mother of two, and I do invest in real estate, and outside of investing, I'm also a real estate agent. And I have my great friend with me here today, Sonia. Sonia, tell us a little about yourself too.
Hi everyone, my name is Sonia and I also live in Riverdale and am a mom of two. I am a real estate lawyer, but before I got into real estate, I became an investor, and was very exciting, and would love to share with you my journey.
Awesome. Amazing. Okay, great. So the idea of this webinar today, by the way, is to provide a little bit of some tips for some people who are considering getting into the investment market. We're coming at it from an angle as two Toronto moms, but this, of course, is for anyone. You could be a mom, or you could be a dad, or you can just live in Toronto and be curious about investing in real estate. And we're going to give you some ideas of how to get started. So some of the things that we wanted to cover today are understanding the benefits of investing in real estate, overcoming common barriers to entry in real estate investing, identifying profitable investment opportunities, building a supportive network of professionals, scaling and diversifying your real estate portfolio, and taking the first steps towards financial independence with some examples of potential challenges along the way. A little housekeeping before we get into our little chat with Sonia. I just wanted to say that even though this presentation is pre-recorded, we still really want you to think of it as a conversation. Of course, if you have any questions, you can actually type them into the chat box and we'll be able to right away respond. If I don't respond at that particular time, I will definitely send an email, or Sonia will send an email to respond to you right away. Okay, great. So Sonia, how's it going?
It's going great.
Okay.
My mom
Pardon me?
Have my
mom fuel. That's so cute. I've got one that says, I'm kind of a big deal around here. It was one that I found here in the office. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of investing in real estate.
Well, the benefits for me personally, and as I see through my clients, is developing wealth through a different avenue. And that is truly the biggest benefit, and to allow that wealth generation to help in your overall plan, whatever that may be, investing for, your children's education, retirement, whatever those plans may be, that end goal, investing in real estate can help you get there. And likely, depending on your financial situation, likely get you there faster. Definitely was that for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, since you're saying that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your real estate journey, or at least how you started? How did you get into real estate investing to begin with?
So I was given a good piece of advice, and I didn't take it right away, but I was given a good piece of advice that said, and buy an investment property. I started looking for a home. I think I was in my late 20s. And I started looking for a condo, because that's what you do when you don't have any money and you don't have a down payment.
Right. Good place to start. Yeah.
And so a great place to start. So I was looking into that, and my brother said to me, don't waste your money investing in a condo at that time. Buy an investment property. And he explained the reasons, namely that tenants could help support the finances of the building, and they could help pay the mortgage, they could help pay all of the expenses, and you can start accumulating equity so that you can now leverage this property to buy something else in the near future, be it 2 to 4, 6 years type thing.
Right.
And that seed was planted, and I still went out and looked for condos. And then I realized, the light went off in my head, and thought, no, I'm going to actually take this route. It was scary. I didn't understand it fully, but the seed was planted that it made sense. So what he was telling me just made a lot of financial sense, made sense from a living perspective too. I'd have more house. And I ventured, and as soon as I made the decision to go down this route, the property popped up, and that was a property here that I bought on PAPE about 18 years ago now. So,
and that was just so people understand too, that is, and it was at the time when you bought it, it was already a triplex, like 3 units.
It was already a legal triplex, which was a gem.
Right. Do you want to just take a quick second? Because I think there's always a big question. What's the difference between a legal triplex and a non-legal triplex?
So legal triplex is actually recognized with the city as a legal 3-unit building. So all the permits were taken out for the property. So the city can't come and say you're operating this illegally, improperly, in violation of any zoning bylaws. Not having it legal, that's what a lot of people do. Like a lot of basement units, when you purchase, a duplex home, are likely not legal. The city tends to turn a blind eye because of the shortage of housing in Toronto, but to legalize it, you would have to get the approvals of the municipality.
Yeah. And I think for everyone who's watching the webinar today too, this is actually quite a big topic. And certainly you could, address some questions directly to Sonia about it. But anyway, okay, so PAPE, so you bought this 18 years ago. Did you know when you bought a house on PAPE that you were buying, so it's very close to PAPE School, which
it's right across from PAPE School, yeah.
Exactly. And if you're in the East End and you're in the Riverdale, that's a prime piece of property because PAPE School is considered one of the top schools for sure in Toronto. Was that a factor when you looked at that property, or?
Location is always a factor. So when I was looking at this particular property, I kind of lucked out. And I must say, I was a novice and I didn't really fully understand the neighborhood, but I did do my research. New Riverdale was a great neighborhood. I wasn't really looking at the school districts at the time. I was, single at the time. So, but I didn't realize that location would be key because it would be easier to rent. And that is really the tip that we can provide. Look for something in a good location, good access to transit, public transit, and then it just becomes that much easier to get good tenants.
Yeah. And maybe we'll talk a little bit later about like what is a good tenant, or what and again, to your point, what is your ideal goal? Because there's different kind of properties that have longer term tenants and that have more shorter term tenants, like student housing, that kind of stuff. That's another part of the conversation. So you bought PAPE and your intention was to live in it.
Yeah, so PAPE was, I was going to live and rent because it was 3 units. I had the benefit of having 2 other tenants contribute to my mortgage payments. And it really was a very positive experience because now I had more cash flow and I was able to start thinking, okay, what next as far as properties were concerned. And all the while, someone's paying my mortgage, my equity is increasing. And it was really evident how beneficial buying PAPE was when I was ready to buy my primary home. Right. Because now I was able to leverage PAPE and move on to purchasing a home that I never thought I could buy in prime Riverdale, and I was astonished and surprised as to how good a decision this was, buying the investment property and then continuing to move on and refinance, pull money out and be able to buy further properties. And that was the start of my journey. And it was, I kind of fell into it in a way because as soon as I decided to buy PAPE or decided to buy an investment property, PAPE literally fell on my lap. But that's kind of been the way all my subsequent properties have happened. It's
Yeah.
very interesting, the journey, once you decide, this is the route I'm going to take, and you make that brave decision, because it is scary to
Right.
not
Yes.
really know anything about buying investment property, about being a landlord. It's actually quite scary, but having people behind you to back you up and saying this is a good decision, showing you that it is a good decision, helping you, achieve the financing, and understanding the process was key for me. It was, yeah.
Right. And I think, again, maybe we'll touch on this a little bit later too, but it was because of your experiences and your excitement, to be honest, about the experiences that encouraged me to kind of start looking at those opportunities as well. And funny enough, to your point, because, once that started, becoming a focus for us and our family, that the right perfect property came available to us. And I mean, there's probably not a single week has gone by where we think, wow, how fortunate and grateful that we were able to leverage all the different people, right? Because it's not just a real estate agent and a lawyer, but there's a lot of different people who are involved in the system of helping you put that together, that can really show us the clear path to an amazing investment opportunity. So that's great. So you had paid, how long did you have it for before you refinanced to buy your primary residence? Because that was, yeah.
Yeah. So I had paid for 6 years.
Right.
The intention was to refinance and buy something else within 2 to 3 years, because of the market growth. But I took a little bit longer because, like I said, I didn't fully grasp the potential of having this equity in the investment property. My background is, immigrant, sort of Italian, Croatian, and the main focus was always to pay off your mortgage. So I'm now getting a mortgage, a bigger mortgage, and another one. This was unheard of.
Right.
So it was, it went sort of against all of my upbringing and the learning during my upbringing. But once I was able to sort of overcome those sort of inherent challenges or those inherent obstacles, I effectively, went into it, refinanced after 6 years. Little first baby was on the way, and we were able to buy a wonderful home here in Riverdale. And after that, it became a little bit quicker. So I think it was about 2 years after we purchased Hampton that maybe 3 years that I had then reached out to you, because we met in a very interesting way.
If I could just add, because actually I think the way that we met is, and again, if you're a Riverdale resident, you totally understand what we're talking about. So we met at the Old Spot, and it's a really cool little restaurant pub on the Danforth, and our little ones, our firstborns, our daughters were hanging over the bench, right over the what's it called, like the little booth area, the banquet, and chatting with each other. And I guess, how old were they, like 5, 6 maybe? And I guess, yours was like, hey, my mom's in real estate, and my daughter said, my mom's in real estate. Next thing you know, here we are, and we've been, great friends and working together for such a long time. But it's funny just meeting in that kind of capacity. So yeah, so we met, we started chatting a little bit about, your next property.
Yeah.
Right. And then we found a great spot in the beach, right? A fourplex there, which was really well set up. I think it had like a great layout. All the features I think that a tenant would be after. And it made a lot of sense for that property for sure. Great location, walkability, and the ability to get some great rents in. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful purchase. And and it just, again, when we made the decision, it was there and it was available. And I remember it even being reduced on the market. It was like screaming my name, buy me. Okay, here I am. I will buy you. Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. So, okay. So if you're somebody who's watching this, and I mean, so we're talking about, starting off investing in real estate and how to leverage properties that you already own by refinancing and taking that chunk of money out, putting it as a down payment to another property. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people don't understand that you could actually do. And if it's okay, I just want to share my experience because I think it's a really good one. And again, I think it's really fortunate. So we are also in Riverdale. We are in a 3-story semi on a really delightful street, little dead ends. We know a lot of the people around the area, so we've been there for a while and we really enjoy it. We had looked for several other, we wanted to do the same thing. We were like, okay, this is like Sonia's move. Let's do Sonia's move. We got to make this happen. And we did see a bunch of different properties. They just didn't really speak to us. We were looking for a 2.5-story that had a separate basement apartment, separate basement walkout, right? So a side entrance would be ideal, or in this case, it's a back entrance, and a main floor powder room, which of course, or bathroom rather, that you can have like a shower and things, so you can make like a basement, a main, and then a 2-story upstairs. And we were in a very fortunate situation where we had the opportunity to purchase the attached semi to us. And we were nervous about that for sure, because that seemed like, do we want renters beside us? Like, how's that going to look? And we really felt like the way that house was set up, it was ideally set up for a triplex. We figured, well, it's either going to be somebody else, or it's going to be us. And we bought that property and renovated it. Looked really, really smart, like really fantastic, and quickly filled up the 3 units with some amazing quality tenants who are just wonderful. And then we had the great fortune of being able to take over the majority of that backyard. So now we have a huge, 40-foot backyard that is, we have lots of different areas into that. So that was just, every time we look at that, we just say, wow, how lucky are we that we're able to do that. And the rents from those 3 units after we refinanced our primary residence covered both mortgages. So now we have 2 homes and we're paying the same amount of money that we did for 1 home, which is remarkable. Yeah. And we also want to acknowledge too, the market has changed and is changing and will change again. And, we're talking about, different numbers and different kinds of properties, but this concept of investing and growing and building and taking from equity can be done in different areas and in different style of homes, etc. So that was really exciting for us for sure. And just being able to leverage what we had already built equity in our current home. It's very exciting.
Absolutely. And just to continue on your point about the market has shifted, the best time to buy real estate was yesterday. The second best time is today. And the reason why I say that is because, again, it all aligns with your goals. The price point will shift, but what are your goals and how are you going to get there with introducing a real estate investment into your portfolio, into your overall portfolio? And that's really key. Everyone, fears, I can't get into the market. But you don't know. You don't know until you start. And that's one of the concerns. I think the common barriers, if you will, that we want to discuss here is people don't have the right information about their financial strength, don't have the right information about what it looks like to buy an investment property. And they go on what they're hearing from others or what they're sort of seeing in the news that they cannot get into the market. We have helped with my practice and working with my partners, we have helped so many people understand the strategies of getting into the market and actually have put them on 2 or 3 year plans to work toward that goal. So if you are very interested in doing this, there is the possibility, just connect with the right people who are able to give you the right advice to get into the market. It may not be today. You may have to get on a longer term plan, but for the majority of people who want to start investing, they can get in today.
Right,
And
right.
just get the information, understand where your
Absolutely.
buying power is.
And I think to one of the points that we were going to talk about is, or we kind of just talked a little bit about, but it was like building a supportive network of professionals, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're absolutely right. I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, have you talked to somebody about doing that? No, but I'm pretty sure I can't do that. I mean, there are challenges, and there's no doubt about it. Like as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed person, there are some challenges there. There are some challenges along the way, but like to your point, you're only going to know when you ask.
Right.
So that's always a good place to start. So let's talk about overcoming some common barriers to entry in real estate investing. I mean, I think that's one of them is not having the information and not having the right people behind you. What else would you say is a common barrier? I think a lot of people think that they, obviously getting together a down payment when you're first starting is a challenge. The idea of refinancing and taking the money from your either primary resident or moving along, that kind of isn't part of that problem, I guess, a barrier. Do you want to talk a little bit about the barrier when you're first starting out?
I think we already touched upon it. The main barrier is the knowledge. Can I actually do this? And is it an informed decision as to whether I can or can't? And that really starts with connecting with an experienced mortgage broker who is able to provide you your sense of buying power. What is my buying power here? And what does that look like? The barrier can also be the down payment. But there's ways, again, around that. If you're dealing with an experienced mortgage broker who's able to say, we can do these types of things when it comes to the type of property that you're looking for. If you're going to be residing there, if you're not going to be residing there, there's different factors. And I'm not going to venture into being able to explain them. There is, just the idea that you need to connect with someone who's experienced and who knows what they're talking about when it comes to the financing portion. And my team is happy to help. As you know, we've been, part of your journey, and that's what we do to help people. The confidence and the fear, those are barriers. But I think that if you're deciding from a position that this is a good idea, that fits into your overall goal, that is going to be tricky at times because being a landlord is not always easy, but that you're going to understand the process from others that have experienced it, and then have the right tools in place to be that. I think sort of the confidence and fear subsides until you actually buy your first property and you see. I always tell my clients, wait it out 4 months. Wait out 4 months, see how your cash flow is going, see how the payments are coming in and out, and then let me know how you feel in 4 months. And they always say, so much more relieved, because you now have experienced it. You went through the whole, very nerve-wracking experience because you can't understand every single aspect of the process. You do have to rely on your professional supports to let you know it's okay. And then once you go through it, you'll really understand, oh, wow, this makes so much sense. All those pieces are now coming together and I can see the larger puzzle. Yeah, for sure. I think if you don't mind, I just want to jump in to say, like, one of my favorite stories to share with people is an older story, but when I was, probably over a decade ago, but I was working with this. I was selling a property, not for, like in Leslieville, and this young couple came in and bought the house. It needed some work. It was very modest,
lovely little street, very modest. It was actually on Billings, now that I remember. And it had a basement apartment, a tiny little basement apartment, super cute though, really. And I was really surprised to find out, because I don't think I didn't realize this when I was representing the seller, but those buyers bought that property and promptly moved into the basement, and they rented out upstairs, which was, 3/4 of the home. They lived in a quarter of the home. And I walked away from that always thinking, wow, aren't you guys clever? I love the fact that they sort of took their ego out of that equation and said, you know what, we just bought this house. We own the house, but we're going to live in the basement. And they rented it upstairs that covered pretty much the majority of the mortgage. And they lived in the basement for, I'm not sure how long. I think their intention was at least 2 to 3 years, until they built up enough equity to move themselves upstairs. So, I do sometimes talk to even like my niece and nephew who are in their 20s. There are ways to get into the market that are a little bit more creative. It doesn't always have to be super straightforward. Hey, and I mean, as we know, like Leslieville, Riverdale Beach, High Park, Roncy Junction, like these pockets have really increased in value in the last decade. But there are some pockets that are outside of those sort of traditional areas that are great investment places that people can explore as well. So I think that's really great. Do you want to talk a little bit about scaling and diversifying your real estate portfolio? I know that we kind of mentioned that, you and I, in a conversation a little bit earlier. Is there, I think you have a belief that investing in real estate obviously is, I think, your primary, but you do encourage people to invest outside of that.
Absolutely. And I can only speak to really my journey on that one, because I went into real estate to accumulate wealth in a manner that I didn't think was possible by just, earning a salary every year and,
Right.
squirreling money aside. There was no way that I was going to save enough money to be able to have the same down payment, let's say, for another property within the time frame that I did, like within, let's say, the first 6 years that I had bought the other property. So I couldn't save it fast enough to be able to sort of create that. But as I kept buying properties and realized that my goal is to ensure my children have enough money for education, and then retirement, and then them to be comfortable too in buying their first home as well, like having that.
Do you mind if I say, do you have any intention of having your kids live in any of your investment properties?
Not at this stage. I know you do.
I do. I know. I kind of do. I mean, they don't know it yet, but yeah, I think I said my dream would be like, okay, you live over there, not under my roof, but under my eye. Yeah.
But so not at this time for me, only because I have seen these as pure investments, and to the point where when they're ready to take that next step, I'm going to be going through this buying journey with them as well. Right. And we'll be having that conversation. Oh, my 10-year-old already knows about mortgages, and like you name it, like let's, leveraging all of that stuff. So the lingo is already there. But so for me, what I ended up doing to diversify my financial portfolio was to use equity in the properties. Once I decided to stop buying real estate, use the equity in the properties to now diversify into sort of more cash investments. Right. And that way it just supplemented my plan so that I could get to my goals in the time frame that I wished to achieve them. And working with a financial advisor, you can set your goals, and they can be short-term, they can be long-term, and you can see how the real estate component fits into that and fits into achieving your goals. And that could be a sliding scale as well, as far as, when you wish to reach them. because you can always impact them by just infusing, different
Right.
information, cash, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I'm a believer of diversifying. And this way, it just allows you to reach those milestones a little bit
Right.
more effectively.
Yeah. And I think another thing that I could definitely share is that through the investment property, we were, again, over time, able to refinance that to take some money to renovate our primary property, because at this point we were like, we were running out of space ourselves, and we thought, do we want to move, or do we want to add on to where we have? So we just finished a huge addition, so we have extra space. So again, these two properties are kind of playing on each other, and really helping us again achieve the goals that we want. Plus, we've taken some money and invested in other things, right? So that's been pretty exciting too. I mean, like you said, like the goal is going towards, sort of the financial freedom. I think that we're all looking for the choices to make choices.
Absolutely.
Right? The choice to choose, which I think is amazing. Okay, so I think we talked about the benefits of investing in real estate. I think we talked about identifying some profitable investment opportunities. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of the call, if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, Sonia, thinking about investing in a condo," what would you say about that? Because I know you said at the beginning, your brother said, don't invest in a condo. And maybe we're not going to talk a little bit about pre-construction, because again, I know your feelings around that. But let's just talk about
another topic.
That's a whole other topic. But like just investing in a condo, like what would be the pros and the cons investing in a condo? I mean, to me, I think obviously it's less expensive. But you're kind of really at the mercy of one tenant. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Right. So again, I'm not at the forefront in providing advice when it comes to the person's ability to finance. But if they were to come to me and say, we have the option of buying a condo or buying a triplex, I would say buy the triplex. Because the reason why I would say buy the triplex is because it'll grow in equity much faster than a condo in a sort of normal, stable market, right? Yeah. And it allows you options. It allows you to live there. It allows you to move out and continue to have it and continue to pay for itself. It allows you, because there's greater equity growth, it allows you to take and leverage and put it into a cash investment. It allows you more flexibility and more options.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, amazing. I think we talked about, now again, I want to encourage everybody that if you have questions to please, put them in the chat. We will be responding to all of them. This webinar will be available to everyone who at a specific time. So I'll be available to answer questions, and Sonia will as well in the future at a specific time. And again, if we can't answer them in sort of that real time, we absolutely can answer on email. At the end of the webinar too, we're going to have a slide that'll say how you can connect with us and get some more information if you have questions for us specifically. But our intention today was just to have a little chat and to explain a little bit about our journeys. I think it's important to know that neither Sonia or I are investors in the greater sense that that's what we do as a living. It's not. But we do have interest in real estate investments, and we're both, I think I could say that we're doing it for our families and for the future of our families, considering our children. And that was sort of the little insider tips that we wanted to share with you guys today. Sonia, is there anything you wanted to add along that way?
Just the 3 takeaways, I think, when you want to get started in investing in real estate. I think the number one thing is connect with a reputable mortgage broker who you're able to really get solid advice on investing. And once you understand your financing and your price point, reach out obviously to a reputable real estate agent who understands the investment properties and what you're looking for. And then, start looking for that investment property, and make sure you're focusing on location. And what is the cash flow of the property? And consider whether you want to manage it yourself or not, and if you want to become a landlord. And one thing that I always advise clients on, and when they're speaking to me about investment properties, is consider this a long-term gain, like a long-term game. Like it's a long-term investment. So with the shortage in housing right now, investment properties are very attractive. And understand that, with that shortage in housing, you're always going to have renters who are interested in your properties, which are going to, year after year benefit you. And that's not that housing shortage isn't going away.
And to your point, I guess also about location, like we have definitely leased out a bunch of your properties, and based on your location, you almost always have a lineup of people wanting to put in applications, and you have a lot to choose from. And I think having a well-maintained unit in a great location is always going to be a good choice for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing today.
Yeah, I was happy to have this conversation with you, and with anyone who wants to talk about it, frankly, because you know me, I'm so excited about real estate investing and just getting your foot in the door. And it doesn't necessarily have to look like this for you, the triplexes, the duplexes, or anything. It could be the condo, and that may very well be your starting point, to commence your journey in buying real estate. So
yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, I've seen people who have bought like a 2-bedroom condo and had a friend stay there and pay towards the mortgage as well in one of the other bedrooms, right? So there are different ways in which people are breaking into the market right now. It doesn't have to be as straightforward as it always was. We have options, we have creative ideas, and we're here to help and here to chat. So thanks again so much. And thanks everyone for joining us and watching and listening. If you have questions, reach out. We are here to help you.